I got a question this week from one of my regular viewers about what I do after a springtime cold front. Well, as luck would have it, day after he asks the question, we get a little rain shower through and a cold front moves in. Now, it's not a big cold front, but it dropped the temperature about 10 degrees. And this time of year, that can be pretty critical. There's several things I'll do under those conditions. One of my favorite, of course, is punch grass, and we talked about that a couple of weeks ago in a video that I'll put a link to here. But the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go look for the heaviest cover I can find. If you're in a lake without vegetation, but you've got brush, those fish will move to that really heavy brush. And what you have to do is take something slow, punch down in there, and make multiple casts of the same heavy brush. Now, there we go. Okay, that's pretty typical for this time of year. Last night we had a cold front come through and dropped the temperature 10 degrees or so. Not a lot, but just enough to move those fish out of the grass where I've been catching them all week into the heavier brush. Well, I'd have to say that was pretty definitive. I spent about an hour and a half out and I caught 13 bass. All but 2 of those came out of the heaviest brush in the particular area I was in. Most of them came on the first or second cast, but I had one particular top that I threw into 4 or 5 times before I caught him. Today I ended up catching them on a Zoom Ultra Vibe Speed Crawl. It's a great bait for this particular situation because it's got a very compact form. It's got a lot of action from the tails, and you can put a fairly good size hook in it so that the fish are hooked up really good and they're easier to get out of that brush. One other thing to keep in mind is when you're fishing that heavy brush, a lot of times they'll get tied up, and if you'll just kind of hold pressure against them, let the fish swim out on his own, they'll come out. Whereas if you try and fight him back and forth and they saw that line back and forth on the log, you'll break them off a lot of times. Another thing to keep in mind is that you're going to get a lot of abuse on the line itself. So every time you catch one in one of those tops, be sure and retie it. So the next time you get a cold front in the spring, go out and give this a try, see if you don't catch a few fish.